Hey sports fans, Haroon Rashid, Khemeia Consulting, and welcome to Haroon's Hangout, the internationally featured show where we make digital marketing simple, straightforward, and fun. Today we have a very special guest with us. We have Lauren Riley from Bubble Jobs, and Lauren is the social media and marketing manager for Bubble Jobs. And Bubble Jobs, if you don't know, are the leading niche jobs board for the digital industry. Now, if you haven't heard of Lauren, you should really get online and check her out on Twitter, particularly, as they're very active. Lauren has fairly recently been featured on Social Media Examiner, and Bubble Jobs have won the Best Job Board Award at the Recruiter Award. So we're really, really pleased to have Lauren on the show. Welcome, Lauren.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're welcome, you're welcome. So I heard that you had a trailer and everything at Bubble Jobs. Is that true?
Yeah, trailer, some assistant, bit of makeup, hairdressing, you know.
Well, you've got to know that you're on this show. I mean, you are obviously famous beyond, words.
Yeah, obviously. I can retire now.
Awesome. So I'm really pleased to have you on the show, Lauren. I know we've spoken for a while now on Twitter, online, and it's great to have you on the show. So wanted to talk really specifically about how people can build and engage their audiences on Twitter. And I think we've had a little chat, haven't we, about what we're going to go through on the show. So I guess we're going to talk about how you guys got started, things around hashtags, content marketing, and being specific about what content you guys create, and a bit more about what scheduling software you use and analytics and your marketing process. Does that all sound good?
All sounds perfect.
Awesome. So you guys have got over 10,000 Twitter followers.
Yes, we
and
have.
You have a really engaged community. Do you want to tell us just a bit about how you guys got started building that audience?
Well, I actually came into Bubble a couple of years after it started, and it already had quite a good following from basically just sharing jobs and sharing information, specifically using Twitter chats, which was a great way to build an audience, say whether that be like location based or whether it be industry based, like there's things like hashtag PPC chat, for example, or there's hashtag Cheshire Hour, things like that. That's a great way to target specific segments of an audience that may not be already engaged with you. I think that's a really great way to do it as well. As well as that, we do a lot of content marketing. We have a blog that we write 5 days a week around a variety of subjects, but mainly job seeking, recruiting, and digital industry news. So that gets shared across Twitter as well, and that's a great way of building an audience and building a sort of an authority online.
Awesome. Let's just go back one step then. So those Twitter chats you were talking about, I really love that idea. So basically you guys found some active hashtags. You said local specific as well, and you were just leveraging those people's network. Is that right?
Yeah, well, we get engaged in conversations, and we talk about what we know as experts, and also in the sort of the more regional chats. There's a lot of people are on there, obviously, because they're living in that area, and we'll just tell them, raise awareness of jobs in their area that we have available, and that they may not have found otherwise if they're not already engaged in the Bubble brand. And that's a great way to make that initial connection, and then actually, if they are looking for a job, then they will come back to us, and they will come back and then engage with us more regularly, and that's a great way for them then to discover other content that we produce. But it's all about making that initial connection.
Awesome. So you guys must have been really busy then, making a lot of connections.
I'm a very busy person.
Awesome. So for those of you who are listening, and also if you're watching this after the live broadcast, we do have show notes on the blog, which we'll be putting a lot of resources in there, so do go check that out. But so Lauren, you're talking about making that initial connection, giving some value, making it very relevant to them, and then they might not engage with you straight away, but they may come back if they need you. Yeah?
Yes, exactly. Especially with the industry that we're in, people aren't always job seeking, or people aren't always recruiting. So it's about creating a connection where someone will think to come back to you when and if they need you in the future.
And that all starts with that relationship then. So with saying that actually it's not just about blasting people, it's about creating that it's a human interaction, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's why we've on Twitter. Obviously, we could have just had the branding, the bubble brand, but that's a bit faceless. And what we actually wanted to do is make it more personalised, and that's why my face is plastered over everywhere. And our account's called our account name is Lauren rather than just Bubble Jobs, so people feel like they're actually connecting with a person rather than sort of a faceless brand.
Absolutely. I mean, even before you joined Bubble Jobs, I remember I would engage with the previous people who would actually manage the Twitter accounts, and I have
Yeah.
to say that you guys have really done a great job with the humanizing your brand. Even on like Pinterest, there's a little board that you have, and if again, I'll put this in the show notes for the viewers. But if you go on Bubble Jobs Pinterest, there's a board where it has like all your baby pictures. I think. Have you still got that?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So talk to me a bit more about the content then, because you mentioned that you guys create a lot of content. What kind of content do you create? And yeah, go ahead.
Well, we create a lot of content. I think our main content creation is like I said, the blog that we write a blog 5 days a week, so Monday to Friday. That includes on a Monday we have a bubble wrap up, which is basically a wrap up of the top 5 jobs that we have in a particular sector of that in that week, which is really useful because we get to highlight jobs that we think are the best in that sector that we have live. But then other than that, we can cover anything from generic job seeking advice, generic employer recruiting advice, all the way to the latest sort of social media and SEO news. And we split it between social media and SEO and general industry because it's myself and Amy, our SEO manager, who write the blogs.
That's brilliant. Okay, so I get really excited when we talk about content, and you guys put out so much content, and I love it. So you guys get about 5 posts out a week, but the thing that I really loved was that bubble wrap up. Was that what it was called?
Yeah, the bubble wrap up. Yeah, where we feature 5 jobs from a particular digital sector.
And does that get a lot of engagement then for you guys?
It does, yeah, it does, because it's just a different way, a more creative way of showcasing the jobs that we have available on the website. Like we'll have a bit more of a description, and also being able to group these great jobs that we've got by sector. Then we can use that sector then to target relevant people, whether that be obviously in Twitter chats, on LinkedIn or Google Plus. But it just gives us the ability to target a particular sector of an audience.
That's a very great and creative way to showcase almost like your best products or services, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or even your best content for the week.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, obviously our content isn't just about jobs because, like I said, we do blogs with advice and tips and our views on the latest industry news and things like that. So it is a really varied load of content.
Brilliant. And because you and Amy are creating so much content, you guys are busy. So can you talk us a bit through your process? Do you have like a calendar? How far in advance do you write content for? Do you save drafts? Do you publish? Do you schedule things? How does it all work for you guys?
Well, I mean, sometimes it just depends. It depends on when the creative juices get flowing, I guess. We might have an idea for a blog and write it in that particular day and then put it out that day. Or we might have an idea for a blog in a couple of weeks in advance and then we'll just schedule it for that date. But we're pretty open in how we schedule it and things like that. It's like if an idea comes to us, then we like that. But we have certain plans for certain months and things like that, and certain things that we want to focus on. In terms of scheduling, with sharing the content, I was trying to share it in like the afternoon because we just found that gets more content. But I use things like Sprout Social to do a lot of scheduling. If I'm not in to share the blog on that particular day, I can schedule it in advance and things like that, like over Christmas, etc. But that's a really good way of scheduling. And then when we want to reuse content, I can always just put a tweet out on something like TweetAdder, and then that'll just go out regularly, and so we can sort of reuse our own content kind of way.
Awesome. So again, we'll put links to those scheduling platforms in the show notes. So there was Sprout Social and was it TweetAdder? Did you mention? Awesome. And just tell us a bit for those who may not know what Sprout Social is or TweetAdder. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about what those platforms are and what they're used for?
Yeah, sure. I'm not getting paid for this, by the way. Although if Sprout are listening. No, basically Sprout is just it's a really nice, really clean scheduling and analytics platform that I really like to use because it's really easy to use and it gives you just enough information, especially in the analytics, but not too much so you're not sort of bombarded, which is a problem with a lot of analytics features. I think they give you a lot of irrelevant content a lot of irrelevant analytics that you just don't need to use. But so that's a really handy way. I mean, you can connect any social media platform to Spot Social, I think. And TweetAdder is just a great tool if you've got a lot of tweets like we do, because obviously we have a lot of jobs going out very, very regularly. And they go out all day, all night. So it would be impossible for me to sit at my desk for 24 hours a day doing that. So that's just, you can just load up a load of tweets and they'll just go out at regular intervals in the day.
Brilliant. And you mentioned that you tend to post your own content out maybe in the afternoons. So
Yeah.
have you guys measured that and you found that afternoons work best for you? How did that all come about?
That's just a lot of, I mean, it's different for everyone. It's different for everyone in every company in a different industry, in a different like country, say. I mean, I wouldn't encourage anyone to say, oh, well, Bubble to send it out in the afternoon, that's what I'll do, because it all depends. But basically, we just looked back at levels of engagement in the analytics, and then we tested at different times, and that was just the time that seemed to be the most effective.
Awesome, and I think that's a really important lesson because you're very right. It's very different for everybody. We found, for instance, for ourselves, our best content gets clicked Wednesday afternoons at 3 p.m. Who knew? So, but then, like on Friday afternoons, we just find that our engagement rates just drop off.
I think that's it. That's the same for everyone, though, because people like finish work early and then they'll be going out. Or I think Friday afternoons are a bit of a no-go.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about Twitter analytics and engagement. So, what do you think are the most important things when it comes to analytics? What should people be focusing on? What kind of metrics should they be looking at when it comes to Twitter?
I would say it would be a mixture between mentions and retweets, because a lot of people might feel that that sort of like favorites might be important, for example, and just while they'll say that they are, a retweet will like multiply your reach of that particular tweet by a lot. So I think retweets is something that should be focused on per tweet. Also mentions, but then again, if someone's a bigger brand, then you've got to be more careful with mentions, because that just could be a lot of really bad mentions and a lot of people sort of criticizing you. So it's important to go through those tweets and make sure that you see that you're actually what the sort of engagement you get in is the desired type of engagement and not the very undesired type of engagement that you see a lot of big brands get. But I certainly think retweets is a big thing with Twitter, just in terms of increasing reach, increasing impressions. And also, if someone's happy to retweet your tweets, your content, then that means that they're sort of just like putting their 2 pence behind it as well, and that they're happy to share it from their own account.
That's really interesting, that because I think you're right that most people would probably just go for straight mentions and retweets. But what you're saying there is about the mentions. There's a difference between good mentions and bad mentions. So you want to be going for warmer sentiments, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't think of what the tool is off the top of my head, but there are a few tools out there that will sort of automatically go through your tweets, and then they'll tell you which percentage are positive and which are negative. But I mean, it's always better to do it manually. You can't trust these type of tools to say that they can read tweets and tell you what they are, what type of tweets they are. I think it's definitely important. I mean, if you're not getting like hundreds of thousands of mentions in a week, it's important to be able to go through them and see what type of feedback you're getting from your audience.
Yeah, so I mean, like for a smaller business who you wouldn't get a lot of mentions a day or a week even, but for like a national organisation like yourselves, you're probably getting a lot of mentions every day.
Yeah.
So is it you and Amy that actually monitor all that, just yourselves, just the two of you?
Well, no, it's just me who monitors the social media.
Ooh, when do you sleep?
I don't. No, it's fine. I mean, yeah, well, it's easy for me to be able to know when we're getting positive or when we're getting negative feedback, because obviously I'm sat at a computer staring at it all day. But I'm glad to say that it is mostly, almost always positive feedback for us.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, cool. So, do you want to talk us through, say, your marketing process? So, can you tell us just like from an idea for a bit of content, right through to how you create the content, and then how it goes out, and then how you engage with it? Can you just walk people through step by step about what happens? Because we've talked about it all, but can we just see how it all fits together now?
Yeah, sure. So basically, either myself or Ian will have an idea for a blog, say. And like I said, that might be on the same day as it goes out, that might be a few months in advance. It all just depends on what's going on at that time. But every month we'll have a general idea of what type of content that we want to cover, like what type of sector, whether that be sort of like recruiting, employment, sort of industry news, etc. So basically we'll have an idea. One of us will write a blog, and then we'll get the other one to sort of glance over it, make sure it reads okay, make sure it sounds good, see if there's any improvements that could be made, and then so then we get to get the final product, and we will upload that, schedule it for a particular day, or post it live. Then at that point, that we'll either schedule a post right across our social networks, all of them, and we'll either schedule it in or we'll post it manually ourselves. Then it's kind of time to sit back for a couple of hours and sit back, do something else, and then we revisit that maybe the next day or later on in that day and see the levels of engagement and also see the amount of clicks that we got on that particular blog, and then that's all going to go back into information that we all can then analyze, and then we can just see what sort of blogs had the most type of engagement, and that's really good information to then look back and see what works, see what doesn't, and see what sort of content that we can reuse, we can reshare in the future. If it's a successful bit of content, then not everyone's going to see it when you post it on a Tuesday afternoon, say. So it's always important to revisit that content and reshare it.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's a really great process there, and I think we might even put that in the show notes for everyone to have a look at. It's a nice systematic approach, and it is quite simple as well in itself, isn't it? I mean, we use a similar one to that, but I think it's just consistency and just making sure you keep doing it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. I mean, for every bit of content, like I said, we do have quite a systematic approach, and then as long as you do something in a similar way to what you've been successful with before, then you can't go much wrong. It's that kind of old thing, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? We're always looking for ways that we can share better, that we can do to optimize. But in terms of how we go about creating and sharing, it's always going to be a consistent way, because our audience know how to access our content because we do it in a particular way.
Awesome. So, Lauren, you may know that we have a thing called the Khemeia Workout, and that's just one thing that you can advise our audience to do straight away. So if you could give them, what's the one thing that you would urge our viewers to do straight away?
I would urge them to identify their audience, whether that be local, regional-wise, whether that be industry-wise. Find out where they are, find out where they hang out, whether that's a Twitter chat, whether that's a certain sort of account, whether that's like a tweet up or anything like that. Identify your audience, go to them and take your content with you.
Brilliant. I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm going to put that in the show notes and make it tweetable or something. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So
straight off the top of my
head. Awesome. So I think we're coming up to the end of the show, but Lauren, where can people find you guys online?
Well, seeing as we have been talking about Twitter for the whole hangout, you can find us at bubblejobs, or one word, or you can find us obviously at our website, bubble-jobs.co.uk. We're also on Google+. most social networks, you'll find us on there. If you just search Bubble Jobs, we'll be there. I'll be there. Come and say hi.
Awesome. Well, Lauren, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Okay,
There's
thanks
been
for
loads of
having
great
me.
tips. Oh, no, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and there's some stuff that I think even us guys at Khemeia will be implementing as well. So thanks so much. And guys, for those of you who are watching this after the broadcast, I'll put all the links to where you can find Bubble Jobs online, their Twitter, their website, and their blog as well. And I think you guys, people can subscribe to your blog as well, can't they?
Yeah, they can subscribe. Also, one other thing I wanted to say, if anyone's looking for any more tips about even maybe getting into the digital industry, we have a weekly Twitter chat of our own called it's #DigiJobsHour, which is every Thursday from 3 till 4. If anyone's interested and wants to ask us any questions about digital, we'll be more than happy to answer the questions in that hour.
Awesome, and we'll put the link to that as well in the show notes. So Thank you very much, Laura, for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for watching. We hope that you enjoyed that. We'll be posting this out on Twitter and other social media networks. So please do remember you can watch us every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Greenwich Meridian time for Haroon's Hangout, where we make digital marketing simple, straightforward, and fun. And in a couple of weeks' time, we will be interviewing the major John Stevenson, who is the head of insights at Khemeia Consulting. He's making his debut. We can't wait to have him on the show, so do check that out. But from me, Elmo, and Lauren, we just want to say, take care, sports fans.